Hey everyone! So let's talk about something big in a world that just feels shaky, full of uncertainty. Where do we find that real, solid conviction? That's what we're going to dig into today. How to build a foundation for what we believe. And we've got some amazing source material to guide us.
All right, to kick things off, let me ask you something. Have you ever been half asleep during a class or maybe a long sermon, and a single word or phrase just cuts through the fog and boom, it's stuck in your head forever? Yeah, that totally happened to me. And it happened at probably the most sleep-deprived moment of my entire life.
The whole story starts back when I was in seminary, living in a dorm. And this dorm had a rule that was, let's just say, not very popular. Mandatory dawn prayer meetings. Yep, every single morning.
And let me tell you, this was a struggle. I'm talking, you're dead asleep, and suddenly this super loud gospel music just blasts you awake. You have to haul yourself out of bed, stumble into this service, and then spend the whole time just trying not to nod off. And the pressure was real. You miss 3, you get a warning. Miss 5, you're literally expelled. For a night owl like me, man, it was brutal.
So in these hazy, half-conscious mornings, our dorm supervisor, he was a pastor, kept hammering on this one specific word in his sermons, over and over. The word was 확신.
But what's crazy is how he said it. He'd get to this point in the sermon and just hammer on the English word assurance every single morning with this intense, forceful voice. And, if I'm being honest, it was kind of annoying at the time. But I never, ever forgot it. And that one word, that word that was drilled into my half-asleep brain, is the key to what we're talking about today.
It's funny how a memory from so long ago can suddenly feel so urgent. It really makes you stop and think. Why does this idea of conviction or assurance feel so incredibly important right now?
Well, the source material really hits the nail on the head here. It's because our world today feels like it's built on shifting sand. Everything seems to be sinking deeper and deeper into uncertainty. And when the ground beneath you feels shaky, that's when you crave something solid, something firm to stand on. That's why conviction matters so much. Okay, so if we all agree that we need conviction, the next question is a big one. How do we actually get it? It's not like you can just decide to have it one day. Well, the answer we're looking at today comes from some ancient wisdom passed down to a young leader. And here's the answer, straight from the Apostle Paul. He tells Timothy, his protege, to continue in what you have learned and have become convinced of. Did you catch that? The order is so important. First, you learn. Then you become convinced. It's not the other way around. You can't just have conviction about something you haven't actually taken the time to understand. This lays out a super simple but really profound formula. It's a two-step path. It all starts with learning. And it's from that foundation of learning that real, genuine conviction can actually grow. It's a direct cause and effect relationship. Now, Paul isn't just talking about learning in general, like reading any old book. He's very specific. He points to the scriptures as the textbook, the core source material for building the kind of conviction that can truly stand up to all the uncertainty in the world. But, just having the right textbook isn't everything, right? The classroom, the place where that learning actually happens, is just as crucial. And Timothy's own life is the perfect example of this. His conviction didn't just pop up out of nowhere. It was carefully nurtured. From the time he was a child, right inside his own family, it was passed down from his grandmother Lois to his mother Eunice, and then to him. And the result? What Paul calls a sincere faith. And here's another incredible example, Susanna Wesley. Think about this. She's raising 19 kids, facing all sorts of financial hardship, but she still carved out time for this deep, personal, spiritual life, and that wasn't just some private hobby. That deep-rooted faith she had, it poured into her sons, John and Charles Wesley. The guys who ended up leading one of the biggest spiritual movements in history? It just goes to show you how powerful that learning environment at home really is. So we've seen that real conviction comes from learning. But this is where the source material gives us a huge warning label. Because having conviction, in and of itself, isn't always a good thing. It can be incredibly dangerous if it's built on the wrong stuff. So you can see there are really two roads you can go down. There's the conviction that's built on a divine source, like the scriptures, which is meant to lead to growth. But then there's conviction that's built only on our own human reason and intellect. And that path, well, history shows us it can lead to some pretty big disasters. So the source material points to the Enlightenment as this huge historical case study. The idea was, hey,
Human reason is king. It's the ultimate authority. And this created a powerful new conviction that human progress is limitless, that we can solve anything. Well, according to this perspective, that conviction had a dark side. It led to centuries of just taking whatever we wanted from the natural world without thinking about the consequences. And where did that lead? Right here, to the global ecological crisis we're dealing with today. It's a really powerful argument that conviction based only on ourselves can actually be super destructive.
Okay, this brings us to the final and maybe most important piece of the puzzle. You can have the right learning, which leads to the right conviction, but it has to be proven by the way you actually live. The knowledge can't just be an idea rattling around in your head.
Paul even warns Timothy about a certain kind of person. People who are always learning but somehow never really get to the truth. You know the type? They're like information collectors. They know all the right things to say, but it never actually changes them. They have what looks like faith, but they totally deny its power to transform their lives.
And that right there is the final takeaway. All the learning in the world doesn't mean a thing until it becomes true conviction. And how do you know it's true? When it moves from your head to your hands, when it starts showing up in your daily life. Our actions have to become the proof of what we've learned and what we say we believe. So as we bring this all to a close, it really boils down to one big question for you to think about. I mean, really think about it. Your deepest convictions, the things you'd bet the farm on. What's the foundation? What are they actually built on? And maybe the even bigger question is, does the way you live your life prove it?